What's going on, Packers Nation? Welcome into our post-practice live chat right here on the Pack a Day podcast. I'm your host, Andy Herman. You can follow me on Twitter at Andy Herman NFL. Appreciate you guys being here. It was day 10 of practice already, which seems absolutely absurd. Also, it was a long practice out there today. I want to say like 2 hours and 18 minutes, something right around there. A lot of team activities, a lot of move the ball periods, multiple 2-minute drills. Some situational stuff, a lot of 3rd and 8s that they were working on, both on offense and on defense. Very competitive day. Thought there were stuff that both the offense and the defense did well. Thought the defense really, for the most part, pinned everything down in the red zone and really made it difficult to kind of complete everything. But I thought the offense came up with some explosive plays as well. I'll start with some of those key plays and those explosive plays because I think those were kind of the key takeaways on the day. The big one was about I don't know if it was 45-ish yards, deep ball from Jordan Love to Romeo Doubs. This was either on like a 3rd and 8 period or one of those situational periods where it was like kind of a move the ball. But either way, an absolutely gorgeous ball from Jordan to Romeo Doubs. We talked about it with Justice. I've talked about it a lot recently. Jordan's at a good camp, save for some of the deep ball stuff. That's the one thing that I feel like he needs to clean up a little bit. And today had the opportunity to hit Romeo Doubs, had really only one opportunity to get the ball deep down the field. This was the one. Bullard and Williams, I'm not sure exactly what happened as they were converging on coverage on the play, but Doubs got opened on a deep post route. Love put it out there for him. Give Doubs credit as well because he accelerated through that catch and then, kind of made a outstretched fingertip catch while running through it, which is not the easiest thing to do. But Love put it on him. Doubs made the play. Ended up in what was a walk-in touchdown by the end of the play. But absolutely beautiful from both Romeo and from Jordan Love on that particular play. You don't see Doubs getting open a ton down, deep down the field. You think of Christian Watson, you think of, now Matthew Golden and some of these other players as maybe being the more explosive ones, but that was a big time explosive from Romeo Doubs. Heard it from his teammates as well as he accelerated through that catch. So beautiful play overall. The next one was on the 2-minute drill, the first 2-minute drill that did stall out in the end, but Jordan started it really well. And he threw an anticipation throw along the sidelines. I want to say it was to Jaden. Don't quote me on that. I'm almost positive it was to Jaden. I'm like right along the sidelines and I have great vision on Jordan on this play. And he drops back to pass. It's probably a 5. I don't think it's a 7-step drop, but it's probably like a 5-step drop out of shotgun. He plants that back foot and he throws right to the boundary. And I see this pass. I see everything right in front of me. I'm like, is he just throwing this? Like, where is he going with this ball? I'm like, I honestly had no clue when that ball left his hands, where this ball was going to. Jaden Reed's running a pretty deep out on the play. Man, he had to throw that thing before even Jaden Reed considered breaking the route off. So he's coming down the field. That thing was in the air for a good chunk of time. Reed cuts his route off. It goes to the boundary, turns around, ball is there, plucks the ball 2 feet down, out of bounds. That was, without exaggeration, one of the best anticipated out route throws that I can remember seeing. Certainly live, certainly in a practice. The anticipation on that one, the exact perfect touch, and getting that right along the sidelines, that was a thing of beauty. It takes a decent amount now. Even like the Doubs play, I'm like, wow, that was a really awesome explosive play. Like we've seen quarterbacks throw, deep post routes when the guy's open. Like you're not expected maybe, but like we've seen that before. I'll just put it that way. It takes a decent amount for me to have the jaw drop a little bit and be like, holy bleep, what a freaking throw. That was a holy effing throw moment from Jordan Love on that anticipation throw. Because you remember here, right? You're in 2-minute. They had no timeouts, I think, on this particular drive. And the defense is very specifically defending the boundary. So in order to get anything completed and out of bounds or anywhere in that vicinity, especially down the field, like down the field out of bounds is completely off limits for the defense in that situation. Like you can give up a lot of stuff. The one thing that you cannot give up is deep and or out of bounds. Any of those things are really taboo in that situation. And getting deep and out of bounds should really almost never happen. And there wasn't even bad coverage on the play. It wasn't even bad defense. It was just a unbelievable throw, catch, toe tap, everything from both Jordan Love and Jaden Reed. That was a really, really spectacular play. The last one was in the final 2 minute, well, one of the final 2-minute periods, and it was Malik Willis at quarterback. And it was, I think, a 4th and 10, ball at about the 15-yard line, no time left. So there's basically one play left here for the offense. And it looked like, I don't know if it was a little wheel route or what it was, kind of a stutter and go. I'm not sure, but McCole Hardman got behind Kalen King on the play, open in the end zone for a touchdown. Malik Willis put it on him perfectly, just floated it out there perfectly for him. Willis gets his 2 feet in. Kalen King beat pretty, you got smoked on that play a little bit, but Hardman was phenomenal, ran a perfect route, easily open in the end zone. Willis finds him. And then a really fun one. They go for 2 after that play because they were down by 6. They're down by 7. They get the 6 on the touchdown. They're going for 2 for the win. And Malik Willis it's a read option play, right? So the read option design is either obviously you hand it off or you keep it on your own. Fakes the handoff inside, keeps on his own. And then Julian Hicks comes back in the back of the end zone. And I think he faked, blocked, and then came in the open of the end zone. Malik Willis goes complete sidearm to drop down as he was almost like he took the ball from running, complete sidearm, finds Julian Hicks cutting open in the back of the end zone, completes the 2-point play for the 2-point conversion and the win for the offense on that particular play. That was a really fun one. And then the cool play at the end too was it was a situation. There was 10 seconds left. It's something it was either 10 or 15 seconds. I think it was 3rd and 2 or 1st and 10. They did 2 different ones. I'm kind of misremembering maybe which one was which. I think it was actually ball in the 50, 1st and 10, or maybe ball in the 45, 1st and 10 with 15 seconds left and no timeouts. And this was a situation, either way, it doesn't really matter what the ultimate situation was, other than the fact that they needed a field goal. They had no timeouts, and you needed to get in field goal range and then get the ball spiked or get out of bounds, right? So the defense is in 8-man, coverage, and they're protecting the sidelines. They're protecting the deep part of the field. They're, willing to give you the deep middle because you're not going to be able to get up and spike it in that amount of time. And then they got maybe a 3-man rush on the play. And it was a gorgeous play call because they had Malik Willis, and they've got their 5 offensive linemen. There's only 3 defensive ends. One of them's rushing from the wide side. So it's really like a nose tackle and then 1 defensive end. They run power with Malik Willis with 5 guys, maybe even a running back in there blocking as well. And they block that entire, and there's 1, maybe 2 guys there that they need to block. There's no way that guy's getting through against a 5-6-man wall along the offensive front there. And they just run power to the right side. Willis is able to scramble, get out of bounds, and pick up the yardage that they needed to get in field goal range. It was a really beautiful kind of play concept and idea from the offense. They get in field goal range. McManus crushed all of his field goals at the end to get the wins for the offense when they needed it. He did have 1 missed field goal from 51, I think it was on the day, doinked it, hit off the left crossbar, or left goalpost. That was the big thing there. But there was his last kick, which was from 57, needed a 57-yarder to win it. Man, that thing was going to be good from 90. I mean, he crushes that thing 57 yards out, right down the middle, and that thing's still in the upper 3rd, maybe even upper 4th of the the goalpost and the net and everything. I think it was way still on the top. That thing looked good for freaking forever. He's been incredible. Again, I know he had 1 go off the post today, but 2 missed kicks today, 2 missed kicks overall now in camp. 1 if you want to count the walkthrough one, but really 2 is what we're statistically keeping track of here. Doesn't even matter which one you want to count. He's been phenomenal no matter what. And when it's actually been a clutch kick, he's made it every single time so far. So continues to be super impressive for Brandon McManus. I will say Javon Bullard has definitely been struggling a little bit. His one-on-ones, which, by the way, don't mean a whole heck of a lot. He has been just brutalized in one-on-ones, over and over and over. Jaden Reed got the best of him pretty easily, 1 on a touchdown, 1 on a play where Bullard actually did a great job of jamming him at the line, and then Reed still got off of it and found way open and caught the pass on that one. But he struggled in that. And then I don't know the play on the deep bomb to Romeo Doubs. I just know that Williams and Bullard were both kind of converging on the play. Not sure who was at fault. Again, don't have the all 22 to kind of look back at it. But I will say, some of the concerns about Bullard and coverage have definitely shown up in practices so far. So hopefully that's something he can clean up a little bit. He made some really nice plays, just playing safety and nickel in general, coming up and making plays on the ball, rallying to the football. Those things are coming very, very naturally to him. The coverage has been a little bit more suspect and something that he needs to obviously continue to work on. A couple other notes. The first thing I'll say is, if you saw anything, because there were tweets out there by myself included, of like Aaron Banks was with the 2s. Saw Donovan Jennings take a rep with the 1s. Like Zane Anderson got time out there with the 1s at safety. Xavier McKinney sat out a series. It was really, really tough to gauge exactly what they were doing on some of these. It looked like they were rotating a lot of guys throughout the day, probably just trying to get reps on tape. Some players may be getting some different experiences with the 1s just to kind of see how they handle it and those sort of things. But they were rotating guys in and out in very different ways than they have done all off season long so far. So there'd be moments where you're like, oh God, is Aaron Banks hurt? Like, why isn't he out there with the 1s? And then all of a sudden he was out there with the 2s, which was interesting. And then like Xavier McKinney would not be out there. And you're like, oh my God, did Xavier McKinney get hurt? It was Zane Anderson. And then on the next play, it was McKinney out there and Evan Williams was out. Like, oh my God, they were just rotating guys at a variety of different positions all throughout the day. A lot more mixing and matching of 1s with the 2s with the 1s, and just some different, groupings and personnel packages, all very much what I would guess would be in just evaluating players in different situations and circumstances. Outside of that, we did see Savion Williams get used as a gunner on one particular play. That was really fun. He got down there in a hurry. I don't know how viable that is long-term, but he looked really good doing it on that one particular play. So that was something. We saw a variety of Savion Williams. We saw a couple of catches along the sidelines. They used him on a couple end arounds as well. So he had some opportunities throughout the course of practice. I didn't see anyone go down with any injuries throughout the course of the day, so hopefully that's a good sign. The Packers did cut Sam Brown Jr. With an injured designation. My guess there is that he was probably just going to miss too much time, where it eliminated any chance for him even to maybe be on the practice squad or anything like that. So they decided to move on. They bring in Lecitus Smith, who was with the Packers during portions of training camp, and I think maybe a practice squad at some point as well in I think 2024. So they bring him back, gets a little bit more depth along the offensive line. He does have some center versatility, if I remember correctly. And just remember, they've had a brutal time snapping, whether it be Trey Hill or Donovan Jennings. So this gets maybe another center in there that can actually do some snapping. We'll see if they make any changes to that. But Lecitus Smith is in. Sam Brown Jr. is out. And then we did get the update on Nate Hobbs again for those who have not seen it yet. He is going to be out for for the next 3 weeks, I should say. There is some hope that he's going to be able to come back for week 1. It is a preventative procedure per Bill Huber and everyone else reporting on it. Huber had it first. And again, the hope is that he's ready to go sooner rather than later. But anytime there's surgery and knee for a player and for any player, it's not a great sign, but certainly somebody that change of direction and speed and everything like that plays a huge part in their game. The ability to break on the ball. You never really want to hear that. Hopefully it's much ado about nothing and we don't have to think about it again. But the injury for Hobbs definitely concerning as you get set for the Lions week 1 coming up in just about a month here. I think those were kind of the key takeaways. Of course, per usual, I will have everything that happened at camp for you guys tomorrow on the full episode. Just wanted to come out here and get you guys kind of the key takeaways. With that, I'll get to as many questions as I can, probably 20 minutes, maybe 25. I'll try to get to as many as I can here. All right, Go Pack. It feels like the offense is struggling in red zone, but doing much better moving forward in between the 20s. I haven't charted it enough to feel like that I know that one way or the other. You're probably right a little bit on the feel about the red zone. I do feel like they've moved the ball relatively well. Red zone's really, really difficult. The defense has been a little bit ahead, but the offense did come up with some plays today, including that play to Mecole Hardman on the final play on the 4th down situation. So, but yeah, the defense is absolutely swarming everywhere on defense, and even more so in that inside the 20 red zone area where just everything tightens up. And now this super fast, super athletic defense is even more difficult to kind of figure out in that short space. Happy Tuesday, Andy. How cool is it that Goody listens to Pack a Day and took your suggestion to sign Ballantyne and cut Gregory Jr.? Insert your, even a broken clock is right twice a day, and or, blind squirrel finds a nut cliche here. This one was, I thought, pretty obvious, not necessarily maybe for Gregory Jr. or whatever, but bringing back Corey Ballantyne, he's basically a vet minimum signing out there, has experience with the team, can play teams, can play on defense. It felt like a no-brainer, and it ended up being a no-brainer, and it was good to see him back out there at practice, primarily working with the threes today. He did have one nice pass breakup that I saw. Colts guaranteed $300K plus of Ballantyne's salary in addition to $150K signing bonus. Surprised they cut him so early. I would guess if there's offset language so that the salary he earns with the Packers or whomever offsets it and the Colts are only out the bonus. Very, very well could be that way, John. During camp, are the Packers more conservative sitting banged up guys than during weekly practices during the year? Yeah, I think there's always a pecking order to this, right? If it's something, minor in camp, you probably want to be a lot more precautious with it or take a lot more precaution with it and really make sure that you're not getting any more wear on tear on any sort of specific injury at this point in time. Doesn't make any sense. Then you've got regular season where, it's a step above where it would be in camp, and you're still going to try to maybe get through some things, but you also don't want things to linger throughout the course of the season. So if players need rest, they'll still get it. And then you get to playoff time where it's like, you know what? I don't care what you're fighting with. If you can go, you're going to go. We're going to get you practicing. We're going to get you out on the field, and we'll figure out a way to get you out there. So definitely different levels and layers to this for sure. Can you see the Packers bringing anyone not named Micah Parsons to bolster the D-line? Not at this point. I think you probably let the preseason play out, see where LVN, Gary, Baron Sorrell, Brenton Cox, those sort of players are in the scheme of things. See if you can get Colin Oliver back here at some point. Same thing along the defensive line at the defensive tackle position. I think ultimately they feel pretty good about their group right now, but I know Green Bay is going to want to see what they can do before they jump to any conclusions and try to add anyone to that unit. But if they get to the end of preseason and they don't feel good about the group as a whole, or maybe there's some injuries out there, could they attack it like they did kind of with Malik Willis at quarterback and try to add someone? Sure. Trying to find a pass rusher at the end of preseason, like those guys are not easy to find. So, kind of good luck. But if they find the right guy for the right reasons and players just aren't stepping up in the right way, they could look into it. Jadeveon Clowney, I'm not necessarily saying like that would be who Green Bay would call or whatever, but he'd be one of the top names that's still out there and available, not currently signed with a team, that if something did happen or you felt you needed to add somebody, it is pretty crazy that Clowney is still out there. Andy, can you come by the media section on the sideline fan side by Bill Schmidt? Would love to see you live. I would love to. My answer is probably not, because it's not open to all the media, right? There's only certain, I think that radio station has that like checked out or whatever. So I don't think that that's open to everyone. Also, it's really tough to kind of get back and forth and then kind of go back between both spots. And as soon as practice is over, I'm booking it to get back here. But again, like I've said, if you want to come say hello right as I'm exiting practice, right along Armed Forces Drive there, I'm usually exiting again pretty quick because again, I'm trying to get back here so I can get you guys a live show as soon as possible. Or again, the corner of Oneida and Armed Forces Drive as I'm walking out there right as practice ends. You guys can catch me out there, and happy to stop and say hello to anyone that wants to say hello for sure. Go Pack Go. Great practice too. Appreciate you being here, Will. Seems as though the offense is struggling a bit. Would you attribute it more to standard training camp struggles, a real concern that the offense is struggling, or the defense is playing lockdown? All of the above and none of it, probably more none of the above, quite frankly. I'm not willing to crown the defense. I don't think the offense is like struggling to any major extent. And yes, there is some training camp struggles here, but I just think it's getting in the rhythm and timing. This is probably more, again, to your point here, Craig, at the beginning, just this time of year, trying to figure this stuff out. The other teams are going through a lot of the same stuff. And usually we even see it take a couple weeks before the offenses start to click and get used to playing NFL defenses in a real game again. I don't have any concern. I still see a lot of good stuff from the offense. I would say outside of family night, which was very heavily in the defensive favor, I think for the most part, these practices have been very good back and forth battles with the offense getting the best sometimes, the defense getting the best sometimes. And I think to a real extent, that's kind of where you want it to be. You don't want one side just constantly dominating the other all throughout the course of camp. Hey, Andy, I wasn't on the live last week to ask, but I thought Savion looked like he was playing really nervous on Friday. Is this something that you've seen in practice as well? I have not. Doesn't mean that it's not true. I have not recognized that. I thought he had a really nice practice today. He had a play along the sidelines where he started to you can tell he's starting to maybe gain a little bit of confidence in his hands. Like he went out and plucked it outside of the body and kind of wrapped it around and brought it in. I thought he looked really good today. Again, didn't see anything that stood out negatively in the family night or anything like that. But specifically today, I thought he played with great confidence just from what I saw out there. Any thoughts on the quarterback 3-4 spot and who do you think is winning? I would say Clifford's winning so far. I think he just has a better grasp of the offense at this point. That doesn't necessarily mean that Algersma can't get there. And I think preseason will play a huge factor into this, but I would say Clifford seems ahead. I mean, he has a couple extra years. Even more than that, when you consider Algersma was playing a different brand of football in Canada than what they're used to here in the NFL. But I would say Clifford's ahead at this point. Matt seemed in a testy mood. Is he tired? Are you talking about the press conference or on the field? Press conference, he seemed a little bit, kind of short on some of his answers, but yeah, I don't know. So sometimes if he gets, a lot of times it's how the press conference starts. I didn't get there for the first question, but if all of a sudden he gets questions that, are not what, I don't know, whatever. Sometimes he can get a little short with some of the questions after that. So a good rule of thumb, if you are, and I think Bill Huber usually does a great job of this amongst others, but the first question, it generally, not just with Matt, but with any coach, like you want to give him something, not necessarily softball, but get him feeling good to start off with. And then you usually get some better answers through the course of the rest of the press conference. If you start with something that's put offish or standoffish, or he immediately gets frustrated, usually you're not going to get great answers the rest of the time. So I don't know if something happened like that. Again, I missed the first question and then was there after that. But I don't know. It didn't seem like anything egregious, I'll put it that way. Out at practice, there were a couple of moments where he wanted guys to get fired up, but he didn't seem outwardly in a testy mood from what I could tell out at practice. Do you think the starters are getting a drive on Saturday? Sounded like LaFleur said everyone should be ready to play against the Jets. My guess is no. Don't know for sure, but I'm going to say no. Because to me, if they were playing, I think he just would have said yes. There's no real advantage to holding your cards close to a vest in a Jets-Packers preseason game. The Jets don't need to know if he's playing his starters or not. So if they were playing, I think he would just say it. So him, having plausible deniability to the rest of his team and trying to tell everyone that everyone should be ready to practice and you should be going through this week like it's a game week and everyone should be ready to play. Like I think he's trying to make sure that the practices remain crisp and not getting players checked out by saying, yep, you're not going to play this weekend. But just based on his answer, I don't think we see the starters this week against the Jets. We are talking about the largest anticipation throws. Yes. Is that why can't I think of his name? QB school, right? Justice said the punt protection is a better indicator for who will make the team than the field goal protection. Why would that be? Great question. And he's 100% right. Field goal protection, you basically just want wide bodies. There's not a lot of tricks to the trade when it comes to field goal protection. You're just getting offensive linemen, defensive linemen. You want that thing as wide as possible. It's pretty easy. Like it's not like an offensive lineman where you're lining up across from him and you're going to go with a pass rush move to beat the guy. You have to get there and just up in the air really quick. Most of the guys up front are just literally going up to try to block the kick. They're not even trying to get through you. So you're really just trying to stay wide, trying to stay low, and then making sure that nobody's shooting a gap on you in any way to come through clean. And it's pretty easy just to even like chicken wing or just maybe making sure that you're protecting like that. That's a fairly easy skill set to get out there. And again, you want it wide because you want that whole lineup as wide as possible, because the skinnier that it is, now you're reducing the angle on the outside for those flyers on the outside that are trying to block the kick to get around easier. So for the most part, there's not a lot of, I'm not saying there's none, but there's not a lot of skill that goes on other than getting wide, being wide, and making sure that nobody's shooting a gap on you. And those are pretty easy things to do if you're a bigger guy, which is why you see TJ Slayton and offensive linemen that are on that group. So it's not a great tell. you're not keeping anybody on the, field goal protection unit because like, oh, this guy's a really good field goal protection guy. That just isn't a thing that exists, right? So yeah, that has less to do with anything. And they're just going to put their biggest guys that are available on game day out pretty much in that group. And then after that, the punt protection unit is a lot different. Not only do you have protection responsibilities, but then you are transitioning from protection to having to go down and make tackles and make sure that you're in your gaps and that you're not allowing anything, whatever, you're not ending up on the ground. So there is a much tougher skill set to punt coverage because you have to be able to wear a variety of different hats on that particular play where you go from blocking to tackling instantaneously and making sure that you're following your, guidelines and responsibilities while doing so as well and not committing any penalties. So there's a lot more that goes into that. It's a lot more difficult position to sort of be prepared for, and that you can actually have more special teams aces that take place in that sort of coverage unit. And that's, to me, why there's the big difference there. And you don't really care who's out there on the field goal protection unit, and you very much care who's out there on the punt protection unit. Golden is very damn smooth, and he continues to get more smooth, it feels like, by the day. He's looking really good out there. The capital A anticipation throws remind me of the late 2023 Love. Love to hear that, pun intended. Yeah, he looked really, really good today. Good to see Reed make some plays. Also, Jordan deep to Romeo for the touchdown with Chef Kiss. Agreed on both accounts. I'm ready to have CV as a full-time starter. Dude just has that mentality to him. I don't know how it will happen, but he just makes plays. I think there's a really good chance that he can solidify himself as the best corner on the team by the end of this year. He looks phenomenal. He looks absolutely phenomenal. I love the way that he's playing. He's competing at a high level. He believes in himself. I'm excited to see Carrington play this year. Who are you benching? If you're going to start CV, you got to bench Nixon, Hobbs, or Bullard. Again, we've talked about this quite a bit, William. I think they're going to have two different nickel groups. Early downs with Hobbs, Nixon, and Bullard. Bullard being in the slot, covering more against two tight end sets, making sure that Bullard's out there against the run, that Carrington probably isn't out there against the run quite as much. And then on obvious passing downs and anything where you're in a third down situation, for the most part, you're probably looking at Hobbs in the slot with CV and Nixon on the outside. CV's going to play a bunch, no question about it. Let's see. If you had to trade one of the wide receivers, who would it be? I mean, if I could get anything for Hardman or Heath, that I would probably just go in that direction. I'm not trading anything else. I'm not trading Dobbs. There's no sense in trading Watson at this point, not trading Wicks or Reed, not trading Savion or Golden. So I will shop and canvas the league to see if anyone's willing to give up anything for Hardman or for Malik Heath. And unless if nobody's a taker, then I'm probably just not trading anyone. Jordan is far too comfy with Rome. I don't see us dealing him. Rome's been awesome, by the way. He's had a fantastic camp. You don't want, I'm dead serious, you do not want Romeo Dobbs going anywhere right now. And again, that's not only just because he's playing well, but he is a key piece on this offense. To your point here, Jordan does trust Rome quite a bit, and he just looks really good out there. He is a piece that you want on this team this upcoming year. No question about it. Thanks so much for being here. Appreciate the comments. We have a great wide receiver group now. Can you name pass catchers from the Arizona game? Rizul interception game as a little throwback game and a stark contrast. I know everyone was out in that game. I'd have to actually do some deep dive think as to who the leading receivers were in that particular game. That was what, 2023? Nope, that was not 2023. What was that? Was it 2022? Now I am curious and I want to find out. The hell year was that? How old am I? That was 2021? Holy does time fly? 2021? There's no way. The receivers in that game were at least people who caught passes. Juwan Winfrey, Randall Cobb, Equinemius St. Brown, Amari Rogers were your receivers that caught passes in that game. Other people who caught passes, Aaron Jones, Robert Tonyan, Josiah DeGuara, and then Mercedes Lewis had a target as well. So yeah, I can't believe the bigger shocker to me was that was 2021 with Rasul Douglas having that pick. Can you name, here's the big question without looking, Rasul Douglas had an interception in that game. All right, who can name the other player who had an interception in that game for Green Bay? Who can name the other player who had an interception in that game without looking besides Rasul Douglas? Anyone know that one? All right, I know you've been against bringing back Rasul, but with Hobbs possibly out, would it make sense to reach out just to try to find depth at corner? If Hobbs was out for an extended period, I would at least consider it. With him expected to be back for week 1, or even if he's not, like maybe just missing a couple weeks, I am not to that point yet. I also probably wouldn't want Rasul on the roster week 1 to guarantee his full salary throughout the year. So this would be something more of like, you probably let week 1 play out. You get to week 2. If you're not feeling good about your corners, or it looks like Hobbs is going to be out more longer than you expected, that's probably the point in time where I would start exploring Rasul a little bit more. He's a free agent at the end of the year, and got to think that BS he pulled last year is still in the back of Goot's mind. Yeah, I don't think it is. I think everyone's over that. I think everyone's very happy to have Romeo on this team right now. What do you think the plan is at wide receiver once Watson is back? Or they trade? I don't think, I'm going to put this out there. Outside of, again, if somebody's willing to trade somebody for Malik Heath or McCole Hardman, they will not trade a wide receiver unless they are completely out of it at the trade deadline, and maybe Jordan's out or something like that, and they know they're not going to resign Dobbs back, and they can get something of value in return. Outside of a catastrophic season where things go terribly wrong, they're just completely not trading a wide receiver this year. Just take it out of your mind. Not going to happen. Rasul isn't Rasul anymore. That's true. Not saying he's at his best, but between running King, Haddon, Ballantyne, or Melton out there, I'd prefer Rasul. Again, what you have to remember is, I think a lot of people still believe that how you build a depth chart is just finding as many starters as you possibly can. It's not exactly how this works. Your backup players need to have special teams value out on your team. Like, no question about it. Like, Corey Ballantyne makes sense to sign over Rasul because you're not looking to bring in a starting corner right now. If Rasul is brought in, you're bringing him in as a number 4 corner. So he's not going to play. And even then, Bullard's probably ahead of him too. Like, he's not going to play on base downs. He's not going to play on obvious passing downs. You already have your guys in there for that. So he's basically not even going to be active on game day because he's not going to be giving you any special team snaps either. So you're bringing in a guy that you're probably going to have to pay more than the vet minimum for and guarantee portions of the deal for somebody who's, until injuries happen, doesn't even give you anything out on game day because he's not playing teams and he's not being out there in defense because you have your guys already solidified in those spots. So and again, not only that, but I beg of you, I know some of you may not have the time, effort, and energy for this. Watch Rasul Douglas last year. It was bad. This is not the Rasul Douglas that you came accustomed to and really enjoying in Green Bay. Also, it's worth noting, Green Bay traded this guy away when he was good. When he was good, they were like, yeah, we'll trade you away. Like, and now he has not been good. I don't have a great feel that Green Bay's knocking down Rasul Douglas's door to bring him back after they traded him away when he was good. And then now he's not good. I don't think they're, super excited about potentially bringing him back. So as confident as I am that they're not trading a top wide receiver on this team or any of the top 5 guys, I can say even more confidently, and barring a crazy amount of injuries, Rasul Douglas not coming back on this team either. All right, just going to go to member chats. I feel like I haven't been this excited for preseason in a while. Feels like a lot of bottom of the roster talent that's going to be fighting it out. I'm with you, Craig. I think some of these, players like Warren Brinson, Barron Sorrell, Michael Robinson, a lot of the rookies, second-year players that are going to get a lot of playing time are going to be really fun to watch. Brenton Cox included in that as well, so I'm excited about it. Carson, thanks so much for becoming a new member. Really appreciate that. R.R. Smith, thank you for the super chat. I'd asked before how you get in with the starters with the news on Hobbs. Sai, here you go. You got this. Yeah, Carrington's ready. He looks fantastic. Brendan, thank you for being a member for 15 months. That's incredible. Thank you for being our eyes and ears out there. Andy, Brendan, you are more than welcome. Autumn loves Carrington Valentine. I do as well. He's looking great. Henry Black, first person with it. Matt, nice job, Matt. And then Will was right after it. Yes, it was Henry Black with the interception in that same game, along with Rasul Douglas. All right. Andy's live. Well, I guess I'm going to have to reschedule my next meeting. I'm going to get out of here in a second, Matthew, so hopefully you can attend your meeting. All right. I think that's going to do it for me today. Thank you to the 460 people who are here right now. Really appreciate you guys a ton. I will be back tomorrow, of course, with a full breakdown of everything that happened at today's training camp practice. And then tomorrow, immediately following training camp practice number 11 as well. So look forward to that. If you haven't checked out the episode with Justice Mosqueda and I today, highly recommend you doing that. Of course, check out all the audio podcasts as well. A great episode today with Jacob Morley and Jacob Westendorf also. Make sure you're checking out all the stuff. Appreciate you guys. Like, subscribe, comment, give those 5-star reviews. I'll see you all very, very soon. But until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.